we have Carlos Domingo, CEO of Securitize. Hello, Carlos, and thank you so much for joining us. And we have many very interesting topics to discuss, but let's start with one that is catching a lot of headlines with regards to the tokenization of treasuries. Now, I would like to hear your perspective on that, and where do you think that things will start to evolve when it comes to tokenization of treasuries?
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. Listen, if you think about the tokenization space, what's the largest asset class that has been tokenized? It's actually the dollar, right? So stable coins are tokenized dollars that people in the crypto ecosystem use for a variety of roles, whether it's putting as collateral on exchanges, for trading pairs, in DeFi, for payments, etc. But if you think about how traditional finance uses dollars, they actually don't use them for some of the activities that people do in crypto. They use treasuries because a treasury is also a form of a dollar, if you want. It's debt against the US government. So it's the same entity behind. So the same sort of like credit risk, if you want, is a dollar equivalent, but it earns a yield in the safest way possible. So it actually becomes more valuable over time than just holding dollars. So the crypto hasn't had tokenized treasuries. And it's a bit of an anomaly. We have $170 billion of stable coins, and we now have like around 2.5 billion in tokenized treasuries. So as we entered the market a few months ago with BlackRock and produced a tokenized treasury product that was really useful for a crypto ecosystem and managed by the largest asset manager in the world, I think this market has exploded. There's more than 40 participants now. It's growing faster than any other part of the crypto market, and we think that we just start scratching the surface.
The big question, Carlos, I wonder, obviously the usage that we've been seeing in BUIDL, for example, has been quite remarkable, is when a lot of counterparties in the digital asset space will start even using it as collateral. Like, when do you expect to see crypto exchanges and others start using tokenized securities as collateral to enable players to be able to trade?
Well, it's happening already. We have announced already partnerships with prime brokerage firms like Hidden Road or Falcon X that are accepting BUIDL, which is our tokenized treasury product that we do with BlackRock as collateral. We also have announced integrations with some of the crypto custodians that control these tripartite agreements with exchanges like Omino or Copper. So kind of like the exchanges is kind of like the next step in the journey. But it is already being used and being accepted by some of the players in the space.
So, Carlos, if you look at the different asset classes that we have today, which asset classes do you think it's a good candidate for tokenization?
I think if you take dollars first and then you move to treasuries next, I think anything that comes after, it's what's the natural next candidate. So anything that has a slightly higher yield, especially as interest rates are coming down, maybe a little bit higher duration, higher risk. So things like floating rate products and CLOs, all the way down to I would say private credit, which is booming. As you know, we have the best tokenized private credit product with Hamilton Lane. It's a product called Scope. So I think anything in between, let's say, treasuries and private credit is where I think the interesting things are going to happen the next 12 to 18 months.
But Carlos, also the big issue often we find with broader tokenization or real world assets is the lack of awareness, not only from the issuers, but also from the users and investors as well. What do you think will enable us to, let's say, educate more of the investors about the benefits of tokenization and the attributes of it and how it can be useful for them?
Well, I think BlackRock entering the space was quite a good way to get people aware of that this is important. They're the largest asset manager and a very important institution. So the fact that they're really, committed to the space, their CEO has publicly stated that they think tokenization is a very disruptive technology that is important for the future, is helping us to build this awareness. But I think the other thing we need is more products, right? So we need more companies, more products, tokenizing more assets, and then for the crypto people to be able to do something with it, right? Because I think that tokenization in the past was a bit of a gimmick of people, using a better ledger, but the token itself couldn't do anything. I think that we are now proving that, if you tokenize things in the right way, you can provide real utility, peer-to-peer transfer, faster on-chain redemptions. We just recently announced an integration with a DeFi protocol called Elixir, where you can, mint synthetic dollars out of your BUIDL holders, etc. That's what is going to spread the word about the value of RWAs within the crypto ecosystem.
And what other challenges or just overall challenges that do you think that tokenization is facing, and especially with regards to having and building utility?
I think that, look, tokenization involves, for the most part, issuing tokens that are securities, right? Either you're tokenizing treasuries or you're tokenizing private funds or things like that, or private credit, which are clearly securities, or you are basically securitizing an asset to issue a token that gives you, the underlying economic value of the asset. This is the traditional securitization process that you can do on steroids on the blockchain with tokenization. And then securities obviously are regulated and highly regulated. So I think that the friction historically has come from crypto being able to use assets that are largely unregulated and that are permissionless, as opposed to, RWAs, which are permission. You have to do KYC, you have to whitelist wallets, etc., which adds a little bit more friction. I think as the RWAs get more widely used, this friction will over time disappear, but that's the reality of what it is today.
On this point, Carlos, as well, obviously all the tokenized assets are obviously securities. There's been a big change now after a couple of weeks after the Trump win. How do you expect the bull market in cryptocurrencies impact security tokens in the broader tokenized world?
Well, I don't think that, the tokenized assets will stop being securities under Trump. I think that's not going to change. They are securities and nobody disputes that. And securities regulations are there for a reason. I think what we're going to see is that the SEC has been conflicting, tokens like, let's say, some of the tokens from the L1s that they claim to be securities with actual securities like the tokens that we use. And that has created a lot of confusion at the regulator. I think that once we now get a new SEC chair and clarity about which tokens are securities, which tokens are not securities, the tokens that are securities are definitely going to fall under the SEC and are going to get the attention they need to flourish. And tokenization is going to be a big part of the SEC agenda moving forward, as opposed to, the previous administration where the focus of the SEC was trying to, sue all the crypto companies because they were issuing securities.
Hopefully the RWA world gets the attention it deserves, as you mentioned, Carlos. That was Carlos Domingo, the CEO of Securitize, joining us from the United States. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Henri. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Are your children prepared for the future of money? Order Decoding Crypto with Henri and Hodler, the #1 new release kids book on Amazon.